Hey guys, this is going to be a quick review of area and volume, and I'm going to try to go fast, so you may need to pause the video if you miss something or you need to write something down, or go back if you miss something. So here we go. Area of a parallelogram. I find area of a parallelogram by taking base times height. And I just need to be sure that the base and the height have to be perpendicular, which means that they have to make a right angle. So as I'm looking at this parallelogram down here at the bottom, I cannot use this side labeled 7 feet as my height because it is not forming a right angle with the base. That's not a right angle. So I can see that I'm going to have to use 12 feet as my base, and that this side right here, or that line right there, does form a right angle with the base, and so that will be my height. And so I'm just going to take 12 times 5, and that will give me 60. And then I look at my label and it's feet, so now that I'm doing area, it's going to be square feet. For area of a triangle, all triangles are half of some type of parallelogram, so we do 1/2 of base times height, and again, base and height need to be perpendicular, which means they have to make a right angle. So again, I have to look at this and say there are only two sides here that form, or two lines there that form a right angle. So I have to use that bottom side as my base, and I need to use this dotted line as my height because they form right angles with each other. So I'm going to do 1/2 times 4 times 2, and you could also do 4 times 2 and divide that by 2. So I know that 1/2 times 4 is 2, and times 2 will be 4. And again, I'm going to make this into square inches since I'm dealing with area. When I find area of a trapezoid, I'm going to do base 1 plus base 2. I'm going to multiply that by the height, and I'm going to take half of that, either by dividing by 2 or multiplying by 1/2. I need to be careful that my bases have to be the two parallel sides, and the height has to again form a right angle with those two bases. So notice here that I can see that this side that's labeled 6 centimeters and this side that's labeled 10 centimeters are the two sides that are parallel to each other. The two sides that are labeled 5 are slanting towards each other, so they're not parallel. Even if that trapezoid was turned, I would use 6 and 10 as my bases, and then I'm going to use 4 as my height because again it forms a right angle with the bases. So I'm going to do 6 plus 10, adding my two bases together equals 16. I need to do 1/2 times 16 times 4. And for me, it's easier to take 1/2 of 16 before I multiply times 4. So I'm going to take 1/2 of 16, which is 8, and multiply that by 4. And so I get 32 square centimeters. All right, again, we have area. So now we are going to talk about how to find area of a circle. There are two ways that I can think about this formula. They mean the exact same thing, but whichever one of these makes the most sense to you is the one you should use. You can think of it as area equals pi r squared, or area equals pi times radius times radius. R squared is the same as multiplying the radius by itself. Remember that the radius goes only halfway through the circle. So if I see a case like this down here where I have this line all the way through the center of the circle labeled, I need to figure out what half of that is. So this is a diameter, and it's 9 centimeters, so that means my radius is going to equal half of that, which is 4.5. So now I am going to take pi times 4.5 times 4.5 in my calculator, and I'm going to figure out what that would be equal to. And I got about 63.6, so I'm going to round that to 63.6, and again, square centimeters. For a circumference of a circle, this is a little bit of an oddball, we throw it in there. Circumference means the distance around a circle, and I can either take pi times the diameter, the length of the distance all the way across, or if I'm given the radius, I can do 2 times pi times the radius, because radius is half of that. So here again, same circle, I'm given the diameter. So I'm just going to take 9 times pi and figure out what that is. And I get about 28.3 centimeters. This is not area. This is a distance, and so it's just straight centimeters. I'm going to do one example of volume. This formula here, volume equals base, the area of the base times the height. So big B times the height. We take the area of the base times the height. This works for all prisms or cylinders. Make sure that you are using the non-rectangular side as the base, if there is one. If there's not, use whatever side you want for the base. So here I have a cylinder. Let's say that the height is 5 and the radius is 3. So I need to find the area of this circle that is my base, and then I'm going to multiply that by the height. So I'm going to find the area of the circle, and hopefully you have notes on that. We know the area equals pi r squared, so I'm going to take pi times radius, which is going to be equal to pi times 3 times 3, and that's about 28.3, which I should know from the last one. Okay, so that's the area of the base, and now I need to multiply that times my height, which is 5. 104, about 141. And now this is volume. So I guess I didn't label this. Let's see, those were centimeters, 5 and 3 centimeters. So we would label this as cubic centimeters. And like I said, this formula right here will work for any prism. So triangular prism, rectangular prism, find the area of the base and take it times the height. If you want to find surface area, you're finding the area of all the surfaces and adding them together. I'm not going to do an example of that, but if you need help with that, you can ask me in class. All right, thank you.